from away. When I moved to Maine over 9 years ago, I quickly learned that Shenna Bellows was one to watch, and she has not proven me wrong since then. I've worked with her, I have advocated for issues we both care about, and I'm proud to call her my friend. So please, put your hands together for our candidate for the United States Senate, Shenna Bellows.
A wonderful introduction, and what an honor to have all of you come today from so many places across the state to talk about me and talk about our relationship and the issues that we care about together and the change that we seek. My name is Shenna Bellows. I'm running for United States Senate because I believe we need more courage and honesty in Washington. It's been a whirlwind few weeks. As some of you may know, I was recently married. My husband, Brandon Baldwin, is here, Skowhegan native. Brandon and I have actually owned a house together and had a joint checking account since 2010. But we vowed that we would not get married until our gay and lesbian friends could be legally married. I was proud to be part of Mainers United for Marriage, the statewide campaign to pass the freedom to marry. And when Maine made history in November, being the first to win marriage at the ballot box, we celebrated. And Brandon called me and said, I guess we gotta get serious. But it wasn't until June when the Supreme Court overturned the Discriminatory Defense of Marriage Act. This summer we went to many weddings of friends and family members who've been together for years and could finally have their marriage recognized under the law. So we planned our wedding. We were married at home in Manchester. We honeymooned in Rockland. And I think the honeymoon may be over, but we're still traveling the state together. I share this story because it is fundamental to who I am, why I am running for the United States Senate, and the change I would like to see in Washington. Being part of the leadership team of Mainers United for Marriage over 7 years was one of the greatest honors of my life. Together, person to person, one conversation at a time, we made a fundamental historic change that has had a dramatic impact on people's lives. And that's who I am. I am a principled leader with a proven track record of standing up for people's rights. Some of you may not know that I grew up in the town of Hancock. My mother, Janice Colson, works the night shift at the hospital in Ellsworth. In fact, she came off the shift to be with me this morning in Ellsworth. She worked in a greenhouse for over 20 years, but at age 49, she took a risk by going back to school through the University of Maine, where she obtained a degree in nursing. It's her courage and work ethic that inspire me, and I believe in the importance of educational opportunity for all. My dad, Dexter Bellows, is a carpenter. He's here today. 33 years ago, he started his own small business. It took courage. With 3 young kids to feed, he took a risk. His story is the story of countless other entrepreneurs, and it's the story of our country and what gives America the reputation of being the land of opportunity. My parents' courage, their work ethic, has inspired me my entire life to work hard and to try to make the world a better place. And I understand what it's like to work for a living in high school and college. With Shauna, we waited tables, worked retail, I worked at the local lobster pound, I was even a Subway sandwich artist. But my community and my education gave me other opportunities to go to college, to work as a research assistant at the Mount Desert Island Biological Laboratory, and to enter into a career in economic development. After college, I worked at Economists Incorporated, an economics consulting firm. Then I went into the Peace Corps, where I was a small business development volunteer, working with artisans in rural Panama and starting a micro-lending program there. In the AmeriCorps, I went to Nashville, Tennessee, where I worked on economic and educational development for young people with an asset building program. I spent the first part of my career working to advance economic opportunity and fairness. And then for the last decade, I have worked to advance and defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, first as a field organizer and then as executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union of Maine, whose mission is defense of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The common theme that runs through my career is my enthusiasm for tackling big challenges and my desire to make the world a better place. A dear friend who was at the breakfast this morning in Ellsworth tried to dissuade me from running when he heard the news. Politics in Washington are too corrupt and too partisan for an honest and independent person like you to be happy there, he said. Why would you want to do that? The sequester, the shutdown, and the default debacle make his argument for him. When senators congratulate themselves for doing their job, for doing what any decent American would do in talking across party lines, when they do it 3 weeks too late at the cost of billions of dollars to our economy, something is deeply wrong in Washington. When Acadia National Park is closed at the height of foliage season, but members of Congress keep their gym open, something is wrong. When Head Start and Meals on Wheels are cut back in the sequester, but Congress declines to reduce their own pay and benefits, something is wrong. The sequester and the shutdown are unforgivable. But as I told my friend, our democracy requires that good people not stay on the sidelines. Our democracy demands a full and fair debate in this race about our priorities for the country. The future of our democracy depends on good people with good ideas participating. Now I know the barriers are significant. This road is hard. Daughters of carpenters don't usually run for the United States Senate. Races like this cost millions of dollars, and that's why we have a Congress of millionaires instead of a Congress of working people. In the United States Senate, I would work hard to advance campaign finance reform so that more carpenters' daughters and working people could represent us in Washington. In addition to courage and honesty, we need more people in Washington who are willing to listen respectfully to people with different points of view. Now, no two people can agree 100% of the time. Even my husband and I don't agree on everything. And we're newlyweds. You may not always agree with me, but you will always know where I stand, and I will always listen respectfully to other points of view. I made my final decision to run for United States Senate this spring when I was working on groundbreaking cell phone privacy legislation in Augusta. I organized a broad coalition of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and Greens alike. We didn't agree on everything, but we shared a common hope, a common vision of the importance of our constitutional freedoms and the dangers posed by government intrusion into our personal lives. Our opposition to that legislation was intense, it was bipartisan, and it included some of my close friends. But we were able to have a civil, respectful conversation, and we were successful. We were one of 2 states in the country to pass cell phone privacy legislation in the wake of the NSA spying scandal. And And some of you may remember that the governor vetoed that bill, but we were one of 5 veto overrides because of the strength of our coalition. This brings me to the change I would like to see in Washington and what I plan to do as Maine's next senator. In the last 2 decades, we have experienced a constitutional crisis, an economic crisis, and an environmental crisis that threaten our country's future. And what unites us as a country are our shared values set forth in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But Washington has trampled on the Constitution. Washington has created the constitutional crisis. Now, my first job at the ACLU was as a safe and free organizer, working in 2003 to oppose the Patriot Act. It disturbed me then that only one senator, Russ Feingold, was willing to vote no to the Patriot Act. And it disturbs me now that only one senator, Rand Paul, is willing to filibuster on the issue of domestic drone surveillance. Abuses of power like the Patriot Act, Real ID, NSA spying, and domestic drone surveillance threaten our democracy. When the government spies on its own people, we the people lose trust in our government. We can restore trust and a sense of community by restoring our constitutional freedoms. And in the United States Senate, I would work with Republicans and Democrats alike to repeal the Patriot Act, restore our constitutional freedoms, and restore trust. In addition to the constitutional crisis, we have an economic crisis manufactured by politicians in Washington who seek short-term gains rather than visionary change. After I graduated from college, it took me 10 years to pay off my enormous student loans, but I was lucky. Jobs were more plentiful in 1997, and I had a choice of employment. I met a woman a couple of weeks ago who told me with anger and sadness that her college-educated daughter and grandson are living with her because of the burden of their student debt and the difficulty finding full-time work that pays enough for them to make ends meet. Another friend laughingly told me that perhaps his daughter would work for me for free because he is financially supporting her. The only work she can find is as an unpaid intern in the field of her choice. She's not the only one. Unemployment in Maine has doubled since 2000, and unemployment for young people ages 20 to 24 is in the double digits. We need to stop spending billions of dollars on the surveillance industrial complex and start investing in jobs and small businesses. We can't afford to be the world's policeman anymore. We need to stop propping up big businesses that are too big to fail and start investing in local economies. We need to stop writing regulations that protect large incumbent corporations and stop writing stupid rules that block entry for small entrepreneurs and farmers. We're here today at the Rising Tide Brewing Company, run by my friend Heather, a friend from college, and her husband. And you know, they were affected by the shutdown. Many people think that the shutdown only affected federal workers, but the brewing industry is a highly regulated industry. And labels need to be approved by federal regulators before they can ship their product across state lines. So in that shutdown, they were not able to ship their product to market, and they lost revenue, and that is wrong. I will say that there's a remarkable bright light in Maine's economy, and that is entrepreneurs like Heather and her husband. Young people are staying in or returning home to Maine to farm in record numbers, surpassing other states. The local food and economy movement built in our communities, not in Washington, that movement is thriving. And we can learn from this model and bring rural innovations to the rest of the country. We need to bring this fresh energy and entrepreneurial approach to our federal economic policy debates. The local approach is not only economically sustainable, but environmentally sustainable as well. And that brings me to one very important point. In the last 2 decades, politicians in Washington have wrought an environmental crisis that threatens our future. Anyone who gardens or farms, hunts or fishes can tell you that Maine's climate is warming. And as we all know, in Maine, our economy and our natural environment are fundamentally connected. If elected, I will advocate and organize support for a power shift to our energy and our environmental policy. The politicians might say that solving the climate change crisis is impossible. They congratulate themselves for sponsoring or voting yes on clean water and clean air legislation that was written decades ago, legislation that everyone agrees on. But they fail to bring forward substantive change that will confront the looming crisis. It's too important not to try to solve this problem, and we cannot afford to wait. In the months ahead, we're going to run a different type of campaign. You've seen it here with representatives from all 16 counties. I am now going to go to all 16 counties in a week. And then across this state, to every city and town, this campaign will organize. It will listen to what people on the ground are saying about the change we need in Washington. Over the next year, we are going to build a grassroots movement from the ground up, because that's the only way real change has ever happened. Together, I know we can make a difference. Good people working together can create fundamental change, just like we did on same-day voter registration, just like we did on the freedom to marry, and just like we did on privacy rights. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can change the world. The future starts now.
Will you join me in voting for Shenna Bellows for U.S. Senate? Yes! Will you join me in volunteering for Shenna Bellows for U.S. Senate? Yes! And will you join me in donating to Shenna Bellows for U.S. Senate? Yes! Awesome! Thank you all for being here today to support this exciting campaign. Thank you to our hosts at Rising Tide Brewery, and let's give Shenna Bellows one more round of applause.